Instagram. Hello, YouTube. I am coming at you at a different angle today. I'm standing. I told y'all a while ago I had my walking pad put in, and so the desk is standing. I'm about to be late for therapy. But I wanted to come on and do a live. Actually, let me stand right here. Okay, great. So that way you can at least see my head. I wanted to come on and talk about what do we risk by putting ourselves last? What are we at risk of gaining, losing, not being able to tap into when we continue to spend time putting off getting better, asking for help, trying to do it all ourselves and not get the support that we need? I know that here I tend to attract a lot of women who have been used to doing it on their own, either based on unresolved trauma. So you had to do it on your own because there weren't people who were there for you, who showed up for you, because it's easier. Maybe people misunderstood what it was that you needed. So maybe well-intentioned people wanted to be there to support you, to help. And so you just learned remix it to reverse engineer what's going on and everything in your life. And maybe it's worked out a lot, but when it comes to your healing, when it comes to you being in the relationships that you want, healing your self-esteem, making real progress, you keep hitting the roadblocks. So maybe you keep going back to relationships that are not worth your time. Maybe you don't go back to those relationships anymore, but you haven't been able to break into the types of relationship and love that is what you feel like you deserve. Maybe it's hard for you. I've got some DMs today about friendships, right? So maybe it's hard for you to find the friendships, the relationships, the companionship that you want, right? So when I talk about love addiction, one of the people who messaged me today, actually, when they were asking about love addiction, said, do I have any episodes or do I talk about love addiction when it comes to friends? For those of you who are joining me for the first time and you're like, Black Girls Heal, what is this? I specifically talk about love addiction and love avoidance. So the persistent love addiction is the persistent pushing away or persistent obsession and think of a person, a relationship, or the fantasy of who you want that person or relationship to be and mistaking it for love. Love avoidance is the persistent putting up of walls to pushing people away because you want to avoid being emotionally overwhelmed. When it comes to friendships, what that looks like is in a room of 100 people, you will click with people, you'll build friendships, but you keep finding the women, the men, the people who are only there for a good time, not for a long time. Maybe you have a lot of great initial connection and chemistry, but it does not last, right? So today, again, I'm talking about what happens when you continue to put yourself last. What happens when you continue to try to do things on your own instead of asking for help? What is it that we risk, right? This is inspired because I'm getting ready for my open house tonight. And my open house is a free workshop where I talk about working together, but I spend the workshop teaching about intimacy disorders. I teach more about love addiction, love avoidance, love deprivation, the trauma that causes it. And as I was looking over the lesson in preparation, I was thinking about how many women continue to get to this place where they're sick and tired of being sick and tired, but something happens, something scares them, something makes them say, okay, I think that I can figure it out. There are other things in my life that are more important right now. So my sister is going through it. I'm trying to get through this promotion at work. The world is on fire, right? Like that's one of the main things right now. Like the world is burning down. What does it look like for me to try to work through my trauma? It looks like everything. Everything. If you are at a place where you do not have a support system that you can trust while the world is burning down, if you are at a place where it is hard for you to find safety within your body while the world is burning down, if you are at a place where when you continue to look for people to help and look for support, you only have narcissists around you, you have the trauma or the memories of people who betrayed you before, while the world is burning down, if anything, this is a time more than ever that it's time for us to come within. It is time for us to find calm within ourselves, to find peace from the chaos. It's time for us to let go of people, relationships, connections, trauma bonds that have kept us bound, right? So, like I said, your girl has therapy. I got to leave in 10 minutes. I have to leave in 10 minutes. And let me tell you some of the things that happen when you don't put yourself first. I'm going to start top because I just mentioned friendships. You miss out on having connections with people, with friendships, with intimate relationships, with soulmate sisterhood partnerships that get you through life when you put yourself last, if connection and intimacy and vulnerability is an issue for you. So I feel like there's two main examples that this, or two main pockets that this falls into for people. And of course there's a spectrum in between, but here's the two that I see most often. Either, let's start with the positive. Let's say you're someone who has a great group of girlfriends, guy friends, people that you know are secure. You know that they're healthy. You know that they give great advice when you allow them in. What happens with that when we have continued problems with our intimacy is we don't let people truly see us. We can talk to them all the time. We can hang out with them. We could be the people who are there to support them. But do we let people see us? Do we tell them what's going on after it's already passed? We lose out on the opportunity and the possibility to have people hold us at our lowest without us having to always be strong. And that is something that I feel like, especially the last 3 to 4 years, maybe even 5 years, I've seen Black women be so intentional about taking off that cape, about not having to do it all on their own, which is beautiful. So what does that look like, though, to not do it on your own? Who is going to be there to hold you? If anything, I feel like I have more people who reach out to me who are in the second camp when they're at the place of looking for help. It's like, I'm ready to find these friendships, right? So when you're ready to stop doing it on your own, what does that look like when we're missing out on friendships? Either I have friendships that I'm not truly letting them see what's going on because I feel like I need to have some self-preservation or something like that. Or I really want to have those people, but I don't know what that looks like. I don't know how to find the friends who get it. I don't know how to let them in when I do find them. Let me tell you what it's been like for me as someone who's worked through and recovered from this. So by the way, for those of you joining me for the first time, I have been a licensed therapist for over a decade, and I transitioned into coaching through Black Girls Heal to help women have practical, tangible skills to unlearn the symptoms of love addiction, love avoidance, and the trauma that causes it to make way for healthy love. So that's what I do here. That's what I do here. That's why I have my podcast. That's why I have my coaching program. At the open house tonight, I'll be telling you all about that for those of you who would like to work together, and I will give the link. The link is in the bio, and I'm going to give it at the end. But what it looked like for me is I've always been someone who's had many friendships. It's been very easy for me to be the chameleon in the crowd, to kind of read the room, to see what are the vibes here. And if I'm also kind of quirky and nerdy, and so if I'm in a setting where I don't catch the vibes or I'm not cool enough with the lingo or whatever, I have known how to turn on the endearing quality, right? Like to get people to feel safe and feel comfortable. That's something that I feel very proud of. And as much as I have been surrounded by people, I still felt very alone. Did I know I felt alone? No, I didn't. Because I was also very good at keeping myself busy. I had lots of activities. I had lots of things to do. I had lots of hobbies. I was great at volunteering. But here was the sign for me that I wasn't really letting people into my heart. When I got into intimate relationships, somehow those men would get deeper and know more about me than my girlfriends who had known me for decades. All of a sudden, this man who was basically a stranger compared to everybody else who I had known before would get access to my inner hopes, my inner dreams, my inner fears. And the girls who had been holding me down since my mom passed away, since whatever else had happened, he would get more access than her. So what does that mean? It meant that this person had access to my heart and to my connections and to my trust and my inner sense of safety that I felt like I needed to hold on to. And so that meant that if or when it was time for me to end this relationship, I couldn't do that, because not only is this someone who I was dating, this person became my best friend. It became a confidant. It became someone whose connection meant more than just some random Friday night hangout. What happens here in the community that I serve is that when we are looking for intimacy and connection to heal something on the inside, especially if you have unresolved trauma that looks like childhood emotional neglect, that looks like being abandoned, that looks like being in settings where you had to know everything, or you had to be perfect, which is part of my story, or you just felt really misunderstood, or there was a lot of codependency and just like you never got seen. Once you have access to a relationship that feels a little bit like safety, that feels a little bit like someone who can see you, that feels a little bit like protection, you're going to hold on to it. Even when and if there are all these multiple signs around the relationship that shows it's not safe, that it's time for you to go. This is how we will get in relationships and partnerships with people that we know. We know the time has expired. We know that sometimes the good feelings that we have with them are not as much and as high as the negative feelings that we have, right? We could probably logically communicate that the benefits do not outweigh the consequences, and yet we are still there and we feel powerless to let go. And that is because we have slipped into trying to fix something on the inside that started before this person, the difficulty letting ourselves be seen, and somehow we decided to have this romantic connection be the one that we let see us and not all the other safe connections around us. So I had to unlearn that, y'all. I had to unlearn that. I had to learn how to practice vulnerability and safety. I had to learn how to find the right, well, actually, again, I was blessed enough to have a lot of really amazing women around me who I could trust. However, here's what it looked like for me. These women who were around me that I could trust were, for the most part, very securely attached. So yes, they would go through their ups and downs of relationships, and they would have their boo-boos, and they would have their mistakes, and they would have people that, it was just that they would cry about they shouldn't cry about. But I was the one who was stuck in the pattern. I was the one who was stuck in the pattern of this relationship and then a narcissist and then avoidant. And then I'm the one that's love addicted and then a narcissist. And then, and so it went to my friends and to people around me. I was like, girl, what are you doing? Like, you should know better. Like, you should, don't you love yourself? Like, that kind of stuff that we hear, that we are very quick to comment in the comment sessions of videos, right? And so now you feel embarrassed. Now you feel like you don't even want to tell anybody anything. And if you do tell people things, you're joining in with the chorus of self-criticism of how could I do this and how could I feel this way and I should know better and I'm so dumb or I'm so weak or whatever else, and you make commitments to yourself and I'm going to do better and I'm only to repeat the same pattern down the road. One of the reasons why I do my program in a group coaching format for years, I've done private clients on and off throughout the years, but I do group coaching because to be in these type of intimacy disorders where you are always the problem, either people say that to you or you feel it yourself. The sense of loneliness and like you're always going to be like this it feels like you're drowning. It feels like you're drowning and it feels like a trap you will never get out of. Being in this community, my Love Addiction Recovery School, which is the name of the program, I've watched hundreds of women come together and finally be able to look in the room of other people who also look normal, who have good jobs, who have families, who have everything else, and figure out, wait, it's not just me. It's not just me and you get it. I don't have to explain it to you. I don't have to clip off details of the story because I'm going to look foolish on the other side of it. I don't have to, end the statement with saying, well, this person did this, but that's okay. I'm going to be okay and I'm going to leave them alone. Like, I got really good at doing that, by the way, when I was caught in my addictive cycle. Like, I would tell people what was going on and then I would end with the declaration of, but I love myself and it's his loss or whatever else, however I would spin it, right? Knowing good and well, your girl was still fiending on the inside. And even if I didn't go back to this person, that pattern was still there. To be in a sisterhood and to be in a connection with women who get it, it gives you the vision to one, that you are not, and I don't know everyone's core negative beliefs. Everyone who is struggling with unresolved trauma has some concoction of negative core beliefs that we're healing through and we're unlearning. Mine would be that I'm not enough or that I'm a burden or something like that. So in relation to what I'm talking about here, this would be evidence that I am problematic or that I am just a big problem or whatever else. So when I finally started to be around other people who also had this issue, but were also working through it. So people who were not content just like being in this like consistent trauma pattern and we're moving out of it. And there was signs of like the light, right? I was like, oh, wait. This isn't my identity. This is something that has been learned behaviors that I can unlearn. And also, I don't need to be dealing with this forever. So the relationships just, again, I know I got like 2 minutes before I have to go. My relationships now, today, do not look like they did 10 years ago when I started recovery. They don't. I went from being in relationships with people where I was their mom, that they were very avoidant and I was making excuses for them, that I could not finish no contact to save my life, to where my friends would be like, so what are we doing? When they like hear what's going on and everything, if I even tell them, because your girl is very good at being private, to now I've been blessed enough to be in partnerships and be in a partnership with someone who is truly adoring and caring and sees me and loves me. And what makes them happy is for me to be seen. It's not based on what I can do for them, what I can give them, but just truly getting to know me for who I am. Right? To where, if anything, what my trauma healing looks like now is learning how to let everything be so easy and happy. So instead of me, what the relationships used to look like before is how do I work through the triggers that are going on in this relationship? If there was someone who was a good enough relationship that I had settled to be with, because sometimes it's easier to be with companionship, or you can date someone saying, okay, well, I know this person isn't going to be it, so I'll just keep them around for now, only to get caught up with stuff in the end of it. Some of you know what I'm talking about. Now that's not the case. Now it's like, okay, wait, things are so good. Things are so good. Let's get our nervous system used to this being the new normal, right? So that's one thing. I'll do one more thing, and then I'm going to speed down the freeway. For those of you who don't know, I'm doing, anyways, whatever. That's going to take up time, what I'm working on right now. But the last thing I'll say is time. One of the things that we risk in saying, putting our personal help and focusing on ourselves off till later, to a more convenient time, is time. And also, actually, let me do a little tangent, is we reinforce this belief that we are worth putting off until later. So I was highly parentified as a child. That's part of my trauma. Being highly parentified, being praised for being needless, wantless, and everything else. So I learned very early on, that I got a lot of praise when I put my needs later, right? So yeah, I need this, but let me go and focus on what the household needs, what my mama needs. Yeah, I need this money for prom, for homecoming, for whatever else, but let me put some money on these bills at the house, right? Yes, I need someone to listen to me and to care about what's going on, but other people in the house are fighting and everything. Let me focus on them. That carried on to friendships. That carried on to corporate life in the world. Getting praise for ignoring yourself and putting yourself last until an opportune time. Y'all, an opportune time is never going to come. Because we have learned, if you relate to what I'm saying, we have learned that there's never going to be the right time to focus on us. There's always going to be a person, place, or thing that is more important when you are the center. If your heart is not good, if you're feeling unstable, if you are having trouble finding your own internal safety, regulating your emotions, again, finding relationships that keep you and help you feel safe and seen and whole, that's going to be an issue. I was just having a conversation with one of my students last week about she's just feeling so burnt out and she's just feeling so much stress. And she has all the little methods in place. And I shouldn't say little. She has all the methods in place when it comes to self-care, practicing, taking breaks and everything else. And she is still feeling overwhelmed, trouble sleeping and everything else, and resting. She's connected to a person that is a narcissist or has narcissistic tendencies and has been draining her energy. So it doesn't matter how beautiful the life that she's created around her is. This person is sucking her life force. And so where we are now is about breaking these trauma bonds and getting her out of it so that she can actually rest. Some of y'all, the reason why you are so stressed out is because you have stressful people and relationships around you and you're trying your best to mitigate it, to manage it. You peep the game, you see how toxic they are, and you're trying to communicate with them about it, or you're trying to not talk to them as much and everything else, and you're trying to negotiate with the emotional terrorists in your life, and we got to stop doing that. We're settling for less than what we deserve when it comes to our inner peace, when it comes to our sanity, when it comes to our heart, when it comes to our relationships, and it's all connected, y'all. It's all connected. So whenever I meet someone who's like, this isn't the right time for me to do the program, whatever else, and they list all these things that are stressing them out, I'm like, yeah, That's exactly the right time for you to be working on this. Because if you don't learn how to have peace in the midst of it, if you don't learn how to ask for help and support when the world is crashing around you, there's never going to be an easier time, because those are learned habits. You think it's circumstantial, but it's been something that you've been trained to do. Okay? So, the last thing I'll say about the time, and then for real, I gotta go. About time is just basically, the best time to start your healing journey and your recovery is yesterday. The second best is today, right? When's the best time to plant a tree? 5 years ago. The second best time is today, right? You getting started, we can lament about, well, I should have done it this time before, and I wouldn't have been in this circumstance, or I wouldn't be so burnt out, and da-da-da. We're wasting time. We're wasting time complaining about what could have, should have been, right? We're looking at the future. The past doesn't exist anymore. What does exist is, what do I want my next 6 months, year to look like? What could be different if I put myself in it, right? If I commit to me for the next 6 months, which is how long my program is. That's why I'm saying that. 3 months of teaching, 3 months of aftercare, and women start to see results within the first few months if they are working the program and getting support and showing up and all the things, right? Which is why I transitioned out of therapy into coaching, because I saw my coaching clients were getting quicker results, and my therapy clients had my personal number. They saw me every week, like we were together for years. But there's something about, you give people solutions, you give people a plan, you give people a curriculum, and it just, something clicks. Along with combining it with the support and sisterhood, it's just phenomenal. But what do I lose by continuing to put off me for another 6 months, a year, whatever, until the right time? There's never going to be a right time. The right time is now. You deserve change now. If you've been following me, if you've been wanting to work together, this is your invitation. Spend an hour with me tonight. Get a lesson, get some support, get some understanding about what you're dealing with. And if you feel like the program is the right next step for you, let's join and get your change started today. Okay? All right. So you can join by going to the link in the bio. It's tonight at 6:30 p.m. CST. Come comfy. I'll be the only one on camera. And you can go to blackgirlsheal.org/open house, or click the link in the bio. And I look forward to welcoming y'all in, to getting to know you, getting to know your stories, and having, by the holidays of this year, things being very different for you. Okay? Love you all. See you next time. Bye. Bye.